Hello and thank you for joining us on the Monday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Benga Oreshegun. Today on the program, NLC demands minimum wage review, says 70,000 naira no longer sustainable. Petro and backs new peng, threatens strike over Dangote CNG trucks. And later on the show, Governor Zulum visits families of 63 residents of Borno State killed by Boko Haram's 6 forest guards to provide support for the military. Well, I'll be hanging out with Kaidi Ladende and Asukwa James. Majid Jamil would be joining us later on the show. But Journalist Hangout starts right now. So before we begin with the conversation of the day, the traffic situation in Lagos. Right about now, one of our analysts is supposed to be here, but because of the serious traffic gridlock in Lagos, but how's it affecting you? Let me start with you. I spent 2 hours in traffic.
I think I spent about 3.5 hours.
3 hours.
I think the whole idea, it's about the psychology of the commuters and probably the motorists. The fact that we already know that they are fixing the road on Ogudu. But what we've noticed is that there's a whole lot of people who probably are thinking of exploring the alternative routes.
Okay.
And so the alternative routes technically have become worse than the route itself, where a lane is closed about two times lanes are closed on Ogudu. So it was quite terrific. I never knew it would be that terrible. I know Monday is usually the worst, but it wasn't funny at all. It wasn't funny at all. I don't know what can be done, but I think we need regular updates from the people who are doing it on how many days, how many months more, or how many weeks. I am not one of those people who believe that the work should stop because of the temporary pains that we're going through. But when we have an idea of when it will end and what we stand to gain, trust me, the anger will reduce.
No, it's true. I spent like more than 2 hours.
More than 2 hours as well.
I was trying to navigate and find alternative route at least for me to even get to
and the alternative
highway,
routes is even getting worse.
The major highway. But if I tell you how I even got to the office, you will laugh. I had to pass through the international airport.
From the international airport?
Yeah, exactly, and then straight to Third Mainland Bridge.
Okay, so Yano Wuro, then straight to the Third Mainland.
So, whatever they are doing, they need to hasten up. I don't know why. I believe they can still work in the night, and it has started raining already.
Some people have said, so why
can't
they
raining
work
already,
at night?
and it
they
means
even did that on
the
public holiday.
Yeah, they can. Public holidays at night. They
didn't work during the public holiday.
No,
they did not.
No, they didn't.
I think that's something.
So it's something that the Lagos State government can consider, so that they can hasten up, because this particular route coming into Lagos is worse than going out of Lagos.
Absolutely. All right, gentlemen, let's move straight into our conversation for today. In every thriving society, the dignity of labor is upheld, not just by the work people do, but by the value placed on their jobs. But when wages can no longer match the weight of survival, the social contract between citizens and the state begins to strain. This is the concern at the heart of the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC, as it renewed calls for an upward review of the national minimum wage. The NLC declared that the current 70,000 naira minimum wage is no longer sustainable amid galloping inflation and the rising cost of basic goods and services. The Acting General Secretary of the NLC, Benson Opa, stated that the value of the current wage has been severely eroded, leaving many workers unable to meet essential needs. It will be recalled that President Bola Tinubu signed the new national minimum wage bill into law in July 2024, raising the minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 70,000 naira. Let's talk money, gentlemen. The NLC is demanding the review, saying that 70,000 naira is no longer sustainable. Asoko, do you agree with the NLC?
Well, based on what is currently happening, based on the economic realities, 70,000 naira is not sustainable. Even if you have yourself, your wife, and a child, you know, and 70,000 naira is not sustainable, because even if they add your allowances to it, it will maybe amount to almost like 100K, depending on the level that you are working, either in the civil service, you know. But for now, I feel that the NLC, I understand that they are also giving options. And that option is what I usually say I don't like.
What option is that?
Which is strike. You know, they shouldn't go that way. The government, when the president wanted to sign this, remember it was 5 years, you know, to review.
He reduced it to 3 years.
It's something that they can continue, you know, the negotiations, continue discussions with the federal government to see how the federal government can also look at how they can increase it. Now, this is just a minimum wage, a national minimum wage. Okay. There is nothing stopping the subnationals to also increase that national minimum wage, especially now that they are getting double of what they were getting before.
So even triple.
Imo states, for instance, you know, recently 104. Even I remember Lagos State also increased to 85, and they were thinking of even increasing to 100. I
think they promised
to 100K
for January,
you know, yes,
but I don't know.
100K, you know. So many states have increased from 70 to maybe 80 to 100 and all that. So the subnationals can take up that particular, you know, this particular matter and look at how they can, you know, reduce the burden of their workers, especially the civil servants that are working for the state government. If they do that, we won't have this issue about, you know, NLC going on strike. It's a national minimum wage, so that by the time it gets towards the, you know, the third year of review, you know, the federal government can start saying, okay, we want to increase it in
exactly. I mean, Kaidi, how realistic is a further increase in minimum wage, given that the minimum wage was just reviewed a year ago, and it's supposed to be every 3 years?
Let's not even talk about when it was signed. Let's talk about when it took effect. Okay. You understand? So when it takes effect, and shockingly, I even understand some states are yet to even start. So logically, it doesn't look practicable. It doesn't look pragmatic for government to do that. The most important thing from what Asuko has highlighted is that minimum wage is a law. And when it is a law, you don't go back.
Down by it.
So even if things get better, the minimum wage stays. Do you understand? So if I target more like what they call it in economics, a benchmark, it is for me to be humane, to be humanitarian by increasing it when I know I'm making more money. And if you look at the excuse, I mean the reason for the Imo State governor, it's not because of the federal allocation, it's because of his IGR. In other words, I have become more productive, I've become more creative, and therefore the people who are doing this job needs to be taken care of more. So that is governance. That's the definition of governance. Governance should not be about, oh, when I'm on my second term, it doesn't matter what I do. You should look at the fact that you have a contract with the people to take care of them, to give them, you know, dignity of labor. Having said that, for me, I just want to be practical here. That's not the way to go now. Let's push this issue of inflation that has been addressed. I keep saying this, and people don't want to agree with me, but some who are realistic will tell me that things are taking shape. Things are dropping. I was at the Popular Market with my wife, of course, and I discovered that, okay, this time around, I think we're beginning to get it right. It might not sound logical for people to hear, but so let's look at how we can reduce the inflation. Let's look at how we can tell subnationals and even federal government, they can, it's just the minimum wage. You can always pay higher. But I want federal government to be careful. Minimum wage is a law. When you sign it, it becomes binding.
Now, Asuko, you talked about states. I mean, talk about minimum wage. Do you think the minimum wage should be decentralized? Let the states pay according to, let them pay according to their capacity instead of a uniform wage.
No, I think all over the world, that minimum wage is like, just like how they say, is a benchmark. So you can't go less. You understand?
Okay.
There are some countries that will say this is the minimum wage, but some companies will say if you don't have XYZ qualification, you cannot earn that particular minimum, and then they will bring it down. But that is illegal in those countries.
Okay.
You understand? So some people will say, okay, minimum wage is $15, for instance. But since maybe you are a migrant, you are looking for under the table job, we can't give you $15, we'll give you like $8. You know, it happens in some countries. You know, so but what we need is for us to see how this minimum wage can, you know, take care of the basic needs of every worker.
I mean, translate to improve living standards.
Yes, you know, that is why even NLC then, they are all shouting living wage, meaning that at least something that will be able to take care of my basics, okay, in terms of shelter, in terms of food, in terms of even my children's support, education. All right. You understand? So
okay, gentlemen.
Well, as we go on, okay.
Yeah, we have Ahmed calling in from the UK. Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yeah, good afternoon, and I greet all of you for the good work that you are doing.
Thank you.
So I just want to talk about that minimum wage they are talking about now. So the minimum wage is supposed to be reviewed, actually, because if the people are not satisfied or they cannot able to sustain their living, there will be no good conduct in a government, because of they will not be able to be a good person because they can't think right. They need the income that can be living wage, nothing, you know, because 6,000 in Nigeria right now is nothing. I can hear, because I know from 2 months ago, people want to go buy a ticket for 30,000 naira. And when you get somebody, it's 70,000. So that means you deprive them a priority.
All right.
To have some certain thing they need to be having in their own life.
Okay, thank you very much.
So the need to be.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ahmed. But now, I am NLC. What are the next steps, you know, the NLC is prepared to take if the federal government does not comply with this wage review?
I know this is a good strategy. If you ask a labor man, this is a good strategy as far as they are concerned. And that is to say that let's not keep quiet that the people are in pain. Let's not keep quiet, as there's a subtle request by public office holders that their money needs to be increased. There's a subtle request by the Association of Resident Doctors for their life to be increased. Let labor not keep quiet too. So it's a subtle way of saying that we are still very, very important in this equation. As you are taking care of judiciary workers, as you are taking care of those specialized professions, the labor as a whole should not be ignored.
So some would say they just took care of you last year.
No,
why
because the way they are taking care of them, the percentage increase is far more than what the NLC is pushing. So it's okay. Let the negotiation be there, but do not threaten us with strike. And that's the point.
Exactly. Very, very, very important. And also, if whatever negotiations that they will be, you know, making or carrying out with the federal government, they must also involve the organized private sector. Because they have the highest number of employees, if you look at it.
That's true.
And you remember during that time, the private sector, we are saying that they have 60K or thereabout for them for minimum
it took
wage,
a while, exactly.
You know, so until the president, in his own wisdom, said 70K. You know, so let all negotiations must involve the private sector, so that those ones will also look at their own books and say, okay, I think maybe we can also increase it, because you can't just go and say you want 250,000 when somebody who has a factory has not even made a profit of even for the past 1 year or 2 years. You know, so they will look at all those indices before this. And please, they should not be in a hurry to call for national strike, because we do not want anything, you know, that will affect, you know, the economy.
All right, gentlemen, let's move straight to our next conversation, shall we? Now, free